The ferry rocked gently on the water, its deck bustling with tourists taking pictures, laughing, and leaning over the railings to feel the ocean spray. Among them stood Armin Halim, the CEO known for his icy composure, expensive suits, and a reputation for keeping people at arm's length. He wasn't here for leisure. He only took the ferry because the helicopter was under maintenance and the bridge was jammed. Even now, he stood alone, staring at the horizon as if daring it to challenge him. His bodyguard stayed far behind, knowing well that he hated being crowded. A soft tapping sound behind him made him glance sideways. A wheelchair, small, pink, adorned with stickers of stars and tiny wings, rolled toward the railing. The girl in it couldn't have been older than 8. Her legs were thin, tucked carefully under a blanket. She had the brightest eyes he had seen on this gloomy day, and she wasn't accompanied by anyone. She kept trying to tilt her head up to look at the sky, but bodies blocked her, and the railing was too high. She looked at him, directly at him, as though she knew him, even though she definitely didn't. "Sir, can you lift me up to see the sky?" Armin blinked, stunned by the question. Him, lift someone, a stranger's child. He almost turned away out of instinct, but something stopped him. Her eyes were full of a hope he couldn't ignore. Slowly, he crouched down to her level. "Where are your parents?" She smiled a little. "They went to buy snacks. They told me to stay here. But I really want to see the sky from up high. I never get to see it properly. Everyone stands in front of me." Her words hit him harder than expected. Everyone stands in front of me. He understood that far too well. Without thinking, he slipped an arm under her knees and another behind her back. She was feather light, like lifting a memory. She gasped in delight as he raised her, her tiny hands grabbing his shoulders for balance. When she was high enough, she tilted her head back, eyes widening at the endless blue above. "It's so big," she whispered. "Bigger than I imagined." Armin looked at her instead of the sky. Her wonder softened something in him he didn't know existed anymore. For a moment, the stress, the meetings, the ruthless decisions waiting for him, all of it faded. "You like the sky that much?" he asked quietly. She nodded, her smile glowing. "It makes me feel free. Like I'm not stuck anywhere." The words pierced him unexpectedly, because freedom was something he had sacrificed long ago in the name of duty. As he held her, the breeze lifting her hair, he felt something warm settle in his chest, unfamiliar and unsettling. Just then, 2 frantic voices approached. "Lily, oh my God, sir, thank you." A young couple hurried toward them, breathless with worry. The mother looked embarrassed, the father guilty. "She wanders off. I'm so sorry." Armin gently lowered the girl, Lily, back into her wheelchair. She gave him a small wave. "Thank you for the sky." He didn't reply. He couldn't. His throat felt strangely tight. The parents thanked him again, rolling Lily away, but she kept looking back at him until she disappeared behind the crowd. As the ferry horns blared and seagulls circled overhead, Armin remained rooted in place. He had held hundreds of documents, deals, and responsibilities, but none had felt as light, or as heavy, as lifting that little girl to the sky. And for the first time in years, he wondered what it would feel like to truly be free again. The ferry reached the harbor, and passengers began to unload in a rush of chatter, bags, and impatient footsteps. Armin stepped off last, still unsettled by the strange softness the little girl had stirred in him. He wasn't a man easily moved. He wasn't a man moved at all. Yet the image of Lily's smile kept replaying in his mind like a glitch he couldn't delete. As he walked toward the parking area where his car waited, something small tugged at his sleeve. He froze, turning sharply. It was Lily again, breathless, her wheelchair parked a few feet behind her parents who were distracted arguing with a ticketing officer about a lost bag. Before he could speak, she held up a folded piece of paper. "This fell out of your pocket," she said. It was his appointment file, the one containing confidential notes for a meeting that could change the fate of his entire company. How had he been careless enough to drop it? He took it from her, stunned. "You noticed it?" She nodded firmly. "You looked sad when you put it away. I thought it must be important." He didn't know what to say. People usually feared him or treated him with stiff respect. No one said he looked sad. No one noticed anything past his name or power. Her parents finally called her, waving frantically. "Lily, come on, we found the bag." She cast one last look at him, then smiled. "I'm glad I saw the sky today." And just like that, she was gone again, swallowed by the crowd. But something inside him had shifted. He had always believed emotions were distractions, yet here he was, carrying the weight of a tiny girl's words more heavily than any corporate deal. He reached his car, but his driver wasn't alone. A woman stood there, tired, frazzled, and clutching a stack of medical forms. She bowed quickly. "Sir, I'm so sorry to bother you, my daughter's wheelchair wheel got stuck in a drain. I saw you help her earlier. Could you help again?" Just for a moment, it took him a second to recognize her as Lily's mother. The father was kneeling by the wheelchair, struggling to lift it out of a metal grate at the edge of the pavement. The wheel was wedged too tightly. Armin walked toward them without answering. "Move," he murmured, and the father stepped aside. Armin crouched, gripped the frame, and with one steady pull, freed the wheel. The mother sighed in relief, the father thanked him repeatedly, and Lily clapped softly. "You're really strong," she said. He straightened, brushing off his hands, trying not to look affected. "Be careful next time," he said, but his tone lacked its usual ice. They were about to leave when the mother hesitated. "Sir, can I ask you something?" He tensed, expecting a request, a favor, a job plea, things people usually asked when they recognized who he was. But instead she whispered, "Thank you for treating her like a person, not a burden." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Most people look through her. Something tight twisted in his chest. He didn't know how to respond, so he simply nodded. Lily raised her hand in a small wave. "Bye, Skyman." The nickname hit him unexpectedly, warming him in a way he didn't understand. They rolled away, disappearing into the evening rush. Back in the car, Armin stared out of the window at the receding figures. He didn't know why he felt the urge to follow them, to make sure they reached home safely, to know more about this child who saw the world with such fierce wonder. But the feeling didn't fade. In fact, it settled deeper. As the city lights flickered on, he realized he wasn't heading back to his usual controlled routine. Something had begun the moment he lifted her toward the sky, and his life, unknowingly, had already started to change. The next morning, Armin walked into his office with his usual straight posture and controlled expression, but his mind was anything but controlled. He had a board meeting in an hour, numbers to analyze, and partners to negotiate with, yet all he could think about was the way Lily had looked at the sky, like it was the most precious thing she had ever seen. He sat at his desk, opened his laptop, but the files blurred in front of him. For the first time in years, his focus was fractured. His assistant, Zara, knocked and entered with a stack of documents. "Sir, the hospital charity proposals you asked for." He frowned. "I didn't ask for any." She hesitated. "You told me yesterday, to gather information on medical support programs for children with mobility issues." Armin blinked, confused for a heartbeat, until he remembered. After leaving the ferry, while his mind was spinning, he had given that instruction without thinking. As if some part of him had decided before he consciously knew. "Leave it," he said quietly. But when she left, he pulled the documents closer. He skimmed through them, seeing words like rehabilitation, pediatric therapy, accessible transport. Normally these topics wouldn't have held his interest for more than a minute. Today, they felt personal. He wasn't sure why he felt compelled to know more about children like Lily, children who looked up at skies they couldn't reach. When Zara returned to remind him of the meeting, he surprised himself by saying, "Reschedule it to the afternoon." Zara froze. "Sir, the investors flew in for this meeting." "I said reschedule." His tone left no room for argument. He didn't know what he was doing, but he needed space to understand this sudden pull he couldn't explain. He left the office building without informing anyone. His driver hurried behind him, confused but silent. "Take me to the ferry harbor," Armin ordered. The driver didn't question it, but his surprise was obvious. Armin never returned to the same place twice without a reason. Today, the harbor wasn't crowded. Families strolled around, vendors shouted prices, and seagulls fought over scraps. He scanned the area, unsure what he was expecting to find. He didn't see Lily or her parents. For a moment, disappointment pricked him, sharper than he expected. Just as he turned to leave, he heard familiar laughter. The tiny pink wheelchair came rolling across the walkway, her father pushing gently. Lily had a bright yellow balloon tied to her arm, bouncing with the wind. The moment she saw him, her entire face lit up. "Sky Man," she shouted. Her parents turned, startled, then relieved when they recognized him. Her mother approached with a grateful smile. "We didn't think we'd see you again." Neither did he. He didn't know how to answer without sounding strange, so he simply said, "I was nearby." Lily held out the balloon to him. Look, I tried to choose a sky color, but they didn't have one, so I took sunshine color instead. He crouched beside her, the faintest smile touching his lips. It suits you, she giggled. Want to come with us? We're going to the small park near the docks. It has a ramp I can use. Her father tensed slightly, embarrassed. Sir, you must be busy. We don't want to take your time. Armin surprised even himself when he replied, I have time. They walked together, or rather, they walked while Lily rolled happily between them. She pointed at boats, clouds, shops, narrating everything with excitement. Her parents kept apologizing for her energy, but Armin didn't mind. In fact, he found himself relaxing, the tightness in his chest easing with every innocent comment she made. At the park, she insisted he push her wheelchair down the ramp. He hesitated, then did it carefully, and her joyful scream echoed through the air. Her mother watched with soft disbelief. She hasn't laughed like this in months. Armin didn't respond. He didn't know how, but as Lily reached out to show him a seashell she'd found, he realized something with startling clarity. He wasn't here out of obligation. He wasn't here because he felt pity. He was here because, for the first time in a long time, he felt human. And that feeling, unexpected, unsettling, yet strangely warm, made him stay a while longer, letting the world be softer than it had been in years.